Hi guys, I thought I'd sit out in the garden today in the nice sunshine and read the next few chapters of our class book. So we are now on a chapter called Trust. Even by the end of the day, he huddled underneath the blanket in the space between the rear and middle seats. The boy felt no doubt in the bear's ability. The bear had explained that there had been further complications, though out of kindness he did not burden the boy with the details. And so there was a regrettable additional delay to their journey. But his jolly, confident manner was genuinely reassuring, and it was a mild night, and they would surely arrive the next morning. The boy was sure the bear knew what he was doing, but by the end of the next day he was beginning to have doubts. And by the afternoon of the day after that, he was starting to get really quite worried. The maps. The boy was reading the comic again, as he had done the day before and the day before that. He still couldn't work out what was going on. He'd read it over and over, and the same things happened again and again, and none of it made any sense. A bit like the last 3 days, really. He gave up again and put the comic away under the seat. Splish, splish, splish. Bear? The bear carried on rowing and looked at the boy grumpily. "Don't you dare," he said. "Say, are we nearly there yet?" "Oh, okay." The bear said nothing more, but made a point of huffing and puffing effortlessly, despite rowing at the same even pace as ever, pushing the boat along at impressive speed, without undue strain. The boy stared out to sea and up into the sky, slowly taking in the view in all directions. He found nothing there to surprise him. He looked around the bottom of the boat, tidy as ever, except for a bottle at the boy's feet containing the last couple of mouthfuls of ginger beer. "Do you want some pop?" The bear looked up with a more kindly air this time. "No, thank you. There's not much left, is there? I think we'd better try to make it last. But you have it if you like." "No, it's okay. I'll wait a bit." Splish, splish. "Bear?" "Yes." We will." The boy hesitated, trying out the question in his head a few times. He wasn't sure it would go down too well. "What?" said the bear, not too impatiently. Maybe it would be okay. We will be all right, won't we? I mean, we won't run out before we get there." "Of course not. Don't worry. We just need to be a little sensible with the supplies. Careful, just to be on the safe side." "Sensible," said the boy. "Yes, of course. And we're not—" Again he hesitated. "What?" said the bear evenly. He still seemed calm. "We're not— Now, don't take offence, but, What?" "We're not lost, are we?" The bear stopped rowing for as long as it took for the boat to drift to a stop. He didn't say a word. Then he carried on, not saying a word, and then after that he was silent for a while, and all this time he stared at the boy straight in the eye. "How dare you?" he said at last, slowly and quietly. "What do you take me for? Some kind of incompetent—" "No, oh no, not at all. It's just—" "Well?" "Well, it's been a long while, hasn't it? Even with the enemies in the current." "Anomalies," said the bear. "Anomalies, yes," said the boy. "Yes," said the bear, his head still in a defiant pose. "Anomalies in the current, yes. Tricky things. Currents, you know. Nothing I could do, but everything is under control." "So we're not lost then?" "No!" The bear sounded defiant and angry, but somehow he didn't look it. Something in his expression was wrong, unsure, unconvincing. He was almost looking at the boy, but not quite. The boy saw it at once. He rose from his seat and stared into the bear's eyes. The bear stared back. They stared at each other for a long time. The bear blinked first. That cinched it. "We are, aren't we? We're lost," said the boy. He felt triumphant as he said it, but not for long. A bear, after all, can't be expected to remain sheepish for long. The bear growled as he stood. It was the first time the boy had heard him growl. It wasn't a loud growl, but somehow that just made it scarier. The Harriet rocked as the bear stepped towards the boy, shading him from the sun. The boy's confidence deserted him along with the light, and his stomach lurched. He was a small boy in a small boat with an angry bear. This did not seem ideal. "We," said the bear. The boy wondered about jumping overboard and swimming for it. He was quite a good swimmer. "Are," shouted the bear. The water looked quite inviting. It wouldn't be that cold anyway, and so far as he knew, there were no sharks about. "Not," bellowed the bear. The boy wondered if he had time to take his shoes and socks off first. "Lost," roared the bear. The boy fell backwards in his seat as if blown by a mighty wind. "We are not lost," repeated the bear. "I know exactly where we are. Exactly." "Here, see this?" He pulled a battered peak white cap from his suitcase. It had an anchor emblem on the front. "Do you know what this is, eh?" With flourish, he plunked the hat somewhat askew onto his head. "This is a captain's hat. I am the captain of this vessel. A captain, let me tell you, does not get lost. Are you satisfied now? Are you reassured? No? All right then. Let me show you, since you so plainly can't find it in yourself to trust the wisdom and experience of a bear who's been at sea all his life. Since the instinct and intuition of your captain apparently aren't enough, then let me show you." The bear opened up his suitcase again and took out the map. "Let me show you," he said, "exactly where we are." And he unfolded the map and laid it across the centre seat for the boy to see. "Here, precisely here," he said. "Here is where we are." And he pointed. The boy looked. The map was perfectly square and entirely blue, all of it. There was no land, not even the tiniest island, marked anywhere. At first, the boy thought that down near the bottom left corner there was a strange circular coral reef, but on closer inspection this proved to be a tea stain from the bottom of the bear's cup. The map depicted in its entirety flat, blue, featureless sea. He gawped at it, imagining the blue map as an actual sea, imagining himself looking down upon it from up in the air, imagined the Harriet tiny and insignificant at the spot close to the centre that the bear was pointing to. "We really are in the middle of nowhere, aren't we?" said the boy. The bear looked up at him. His anger dissipated as he saw the boy's deflated expression and defeated slump of his shoulders. "Oh no," he said. "Not the middle of nowhere, not at all." The boy raised his eyes to meet the bear's, eager for any shred of comfort, but wary of false hope too. "Really?" he said suspiciously. "Really," said the bear. He pointed again at the spot on the map he had indicated a moment earlier. "You see, we are here." The boy stared at a small piece of the blue on the big blue map. "And in the middle of nowhere is here." The bear shifted his finger an inch or two down and to the right and tapped the spot a couple of times for emphasis. "We passed through it about noon yesterday, so you see, it's not so bad." The boy didn't seem especially cheered by this. The bear shook off his bemusement and carried eagerly on. "And anyway, we'll soon be off of that map and onto this one," he said, and proceeded to unfold a second map and place it flat over the top of the first. The boy stared at it. It was, again, very blue. His voice cracked as he said, "There's nothing there. Just sea, and sea, and more sea. What's the point of even having a map with nothing but sea on it, anyway?" "I happen to like the sea," said the bear indignantly. "And, in any case, this map is not just sea. Look here." He pointed confidently to a biscuit crumb. The boy said, "That's a biscuit crumb," and swiftly ate it. "Oh," said the bear. "Ah, hang on." He leaned his face close over the map, squinting hard at it and moving his head around, looking for something. With his nose so close to the paper, he looked as if he was trying to sniff it out. "Aha!" he cried at last. "Here it is!" And he stabbed a claw at the spot in the top right-hand quarter. The boy followed the bear's claw down to the tip beneath, which he could just make out a tiny black speck. "What's that, then?" said the boy. "It's a rock," said the bear. "So it's just as well we have the map, so we can make sure not to hit it. That's the kind of responsibility a good captain takes very seriously, I'll have you know." The boy was speechless. A single tear traced a route down his cheek. "There's no need to cry with joy," said the bear. "It's all part of the service." A message in the bottle. The bear rowed. The boy sat very still and stared blankly out to sea. His stomach felt as if it was tightly knotted inside him, and his mouth felt very dry. He drank the last of the ginger beer. It was flat and warm and horrible, and he wished he had a dozen more bottles just like it. Once, on holiday at the seaside, he had found a bottle on the beach with a message on a piece of paper inside it. It had come from another country, quite a long way away, his dad told him. He had meant to look it up on the map when he got home, but he forgot, and now he couldn't even remember the name of the country. It hadn't said anything very interesting, so far as they could tell, but he had been excited to think how far it had come to reach him. He decided to write a message of his own. He used the paper bag the sweets had been in, and wrote on it with a pencil from his bag. When he had finished, he put the paper into the bottle and screwed the top back on. Then he leaned over the back of the boat and dropped the bottle into the water. He watched it, bobbing there on its side, growing smaller and smaller as they moved away from it. Soon it was just a speck in the distance. Then it was half a speck. Then it was gone. Time passed. It got darker and a little colder, but otherwise nothing much changed. The bear rowed. The boy fidgeted and fussed. He was stiff and restless, and despite his tiredness, longed for some activity. He wanted to stomp about impatiently, but there wasn't room, so all he could manage was some rather awkward shuffling, and still, unused to the unsteadiness of the boat, he lost his balance. He lurched against the side, and the boat tipped, sending him further off balance. He arched his back, windmilled his arms, and just managed to stay upright. Not only that, but he was pretty sure that the bear, head down and concentrating on his rowing, hadn't noticed anything. Then the boat rocked back the other way, and the boy fell, landing on his bottom with a loud thump. "Having a lie down?" said the bear, still not looking up, but the moon was full and bright enough for the boy to see him smiling. Said the boy. The bear pulled his smile in at the sides a bit. "You should get some sleep," he said. "It's late." "I'm not tired," said the boy, sitting tenderly back on his seat. Then he yawned noisily. "No, I can see that. Are you hungry, though? Do you want anything to eat? I think we'd better save the chocolate for now, but there's a sandwich left." The bear stopped rowing and reached beneath him for his lunchbox. "I thought we'd eaten them all already," said the boy. "I thought so too," said the bear. "But then I cleared out all of the tin foil and found this one at the bottom of the box. I think it must be left over from my last trip, so it's a bit past its best." "What's in it?" said the boy. He had tried a few of the bear's sandwiches by now and had grown wary of their eccentric fillings. There had been tuna fish, peanut butter and pineapple, Sprite and honey, chili pepper, mustard and horseradish, and what the bear called his breakfast special, bacon, sausage, egg, porridge, cornflakes and coffee beans between 2 slices of toast. He didn't relish the thought of anything else along the same lines, but he really was very hungry. The bear rummaged in his lunchbox and pulled out something bready and triangular, and he held it towards the boy. "All yours," he said. The boy looked at the proffered sandwich. He noticed that the bear was holding it rather gingerly in the tips of 2 claws and right in the corner. Despite this, the bread did not bend at all. The boy looked up at the bear. He looked back at the sandwich. It was very difficult to tell what colour it was by moonlight, but whatever colour it was, it didn't seem right. "What's in it?" the boy said again. "I can't remember," said the bear. "Well, open it up and take a look," said the boy. "I can't," said the bear. "It's stuck." The boy looked up at the bear. The bear smiled thinly down at the boy. They both looked back at the sandwich. "Is it?" said the boy. "What?" said the bear. "Is it only a bit? But is it glowing?" "No," said the bear. They squinted at the sandwich and leaned in cautiously to look more closely. "Hardly at all," said the bear. "I'm really not that hungry," said the boy. "You have it." "That's very kind," said the bear, "but I think I'll save it for breakfast." And when he put the sandwich away again, the boy noted that the bear locked the lunchbox, which he didn't usually do, and seemed to take extra care as he stowed it away. They each returned to their usual places. "You should get some sleep," said the bear. "I'll keep going for a bit. It's a nice night. I thought I'd row for a while longer and take a look at the moon." "Look at the moon?" said the boy. "Why? It's not going to do anything, is it? I mean, the moon is just the moon." But as he said it, he looked up at the moon himself, as there was nothing better to do. He kept looking at it for quite a while. He'd been right. It didn't do anything. But it didn't have to. It was just beautiful. It just was. The boy gazed at the moon longer and harder than he ever had before, because who would spend any time looking at the moon when there was telly to watch and video games to play and comics to read, and felt for a moment calm and safe and sure. "Coo," he said, but very quietly, and then the boy looked at the stars. There were a lot of them, more, he thought, than usual. He wondered where all the new ones had come from. Maybe they were just all the usual ones, but they'd all bunched together in the same bit of sky. He twisted his neck to look up, and looking up at a different patch of sky, they all seemed equally crowded. "You can see more stars out here," said the bear, as if reading the boy's mind, "because it's properly dark." The boy lowered his head and looked at the bear. "It's funny, isn't it?" the bear went on. "With everything else, you can't see as well in the dark, but with stars, you can see them better. In towns with street lights and such, it's not dark enough to see some of them, but out here," he looked up and smiled, and either forgot to continue or felt no need. The boy looked up again too. They sat there for a while, quiet and content, drinking in the beauty of the bejeweled night. "Do you use them to navigate by?" asked the boy. "Eh?" The boy looked at the bear, and his neck, stiffened by a light breeze, gave a small ache of complaint at having to move again. "Do you use the stars to know which way to go?" The bear scrunched his brow. "To know which way is north and south and everything?" "Oh," said the bear, "that sounds clever. How do you do that?" "I don't know," said the boy. "You're supposed to be the sailor. I don't even know the names of any of them." "They have names," said the bear. The boy's wide eyes were like 2 more dim stars now, staring hard in disbelief. "Yes, of course," said the boy. "They all have names, and if you know the names, and you know which one's which, and where they all go, you can tell which direction is which. and know which way you need to go somehow. Course, said the bear. That sounds like a lot of hard work when you could just use a compass. Have you got a compass? Said the boy. No, said the bear. So how do you know which way we're going? I just do, said the bear. I know where we are, and I know where we're going, and that's all. But that's enough. The boy looked grumpy and suspicious. He was getting cold too. He hunted around huffily, feeling for his coat in the darkness, especially darkness beneath his seat. Oh, said the bear, I do know one thing about telling directions from the stars. What's that then? Said the boy. The bear pulled his oars in and stood up, raising his eyes to the deep dark and dazzle of the sky. He scanned the stars in the patch of sky directly above him as if seeking something out. The boy stood, too, up on top of the middle bench seat, closer to the bear than he normally ever got to follow his gaze. He was still shorter than the bear, but he could look into his eyes now and see, reflected in their dark wetness, the wonder and magic and mystery of the night. The stars sparkling and sparkling within. He looked up again, trying to see what the bear saw, searching the blinking lights as if for clues or patterns. You see, said the bear in a distant, quiet voice, as if almost in a trance. He slowly raised an arm. You see, he pointed at the nameless stars above. Those 3 brightest stars there, almost in a line. Yes, said the boy in a whisper, looking straight along the bear's raised arm and pointed claw. Well, that way, said the bear. Yes, said the boy. That way, said the bear. Yes, it's definitely. Yes. Up, said the bear. There was a long pause, during which the boy considered a number of things to say to the bear. He came up with something quite good and very rude, but was still waiting for the bear to stop sniggering naughtily at his own joke when he was overcome by a horrible feeling of nausea. The bear, still giggling, had not lowered his arm, and the boy's face was close to his armpit. Ah, said the boy, you stink. It wasn't a very clever thing to say, as he'd intended, but it worked rather well. The bear looked hurt, and the boy was glad of it. I've been working quite hard, you know, said the bear defensively, quickly lowering his arm. I was bound to work up a bit of a sweat. I'm not surprised if I smell a little ripe. Ripe? Said the boy, pinching at his nose, retreating to the back of the boat. More like rotten. I think I'm going to be sick. Ugh. The boy leaned out of the boat and, overacting outrageously, pretended to be sick. Ugh. SOS, Mayday! I'm stuck on a boat with a fat, stinky bear. Blech. Send help. Send the Coast Guard. Send soap. His already unconvincing act was made no more believable by frequent bites of laughter. Even without looking back, the boy could tell the bear was hurt, and he no longer took pleasure in the fact. But somehow, now that he had started laughing, he found he couldn't stop. He slumped over the side and laughed and howled and beat his fists until he was breathless and hoarse and exhausted. At last he stopped. He felt ashamed and didn't want to look around at the bear. But somehow, even now, he felt no urge to apologize. So he knelt there, staring into the dark water, listening to his breathing and his heart both slowing. Suddenly, the water lit up, and the boy saw his reflection. There were tears on his cheeks, and he didn't know if they were tears of laughter or of regret. Either way, he didn't want to look at himself, so finally he stood, embarrassed, still not facing the bear directly, but glancing sheepishly at him out of the corners of his eyes. The bear had lit an old-fashioned lantern and was hanging it from a pole he had raised at the front of the boat. The bear sat down and took up his oars once more. You should sleep now, he said. The boy turned away from him and lay down, and curled himself up beneath a ragged blanket that the bear had given him on the first night. He closed his eyes and listened to the rhythm of the oars. Splish, splish, splish. He wondered what he might say or do to apologize, but before he had thought of anything, he fell asleep.